Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by tall bamboo forests, there lived a young man named Kiran. During the day, the village was bright and cheerful. Children laughed in the open fields, farmers worked under the warm sun, and the river sparkled as it flowed gently past the houses. But when night came, everything changed. The bamboo forest that looked peaceful in daylight became a place of moving shadows. The wind whispered through the tall green stalks, making soft, creaking sounds. Moonlight slipped through the leaves, creating strange shapes on the narrow path that led from the village to the fields. Kiran was brave when the sun was shining. He worked hard, spoke confidently, and walked with strong steps. But in the darkness, his courage seemed to fade. He feared what he could not clearly see. Each evening, when he returned home through the forest path, his imagination filled the shadows with danger. A bent branch became a claw, a rustling leaf became a hidden creature. His heart would pound and his steps would quicken. One night, thick clouds covered the moon, making the forest darker than usual. Kiran walked carefully, his eyes straining to see the path ahead. Suddenly, he froze. There, lying across the narrow trail, was something long and curved. His breath caught in his throat. "It is a snake," he whispered. The shape looked coiled. In the dim light, it seemed ready to move at any moment. Kiran stepped backward slowly, afraid that even the sound of his breathing might disturb it. His heart beat loudly in his ears. The forest felt silent, as though waiting. Then fear took control. He turned and ran back toward the village as fast as he could. The next morning, Kiran gathered the villagers and told them about the dangerous snake blocking the forest path. His voice trembled as he described how large and threatening it had looked. The villagers grew worried. Some decided they would not use the forest path at night anymore. Others spoke of finding sticks and tools to drive the snake away. Among the villagers was a wise monk who had come to visit. He listened quietly to Kiran's story. When Kiran finished speaking, the monk said calmly, "Will you show me where you saw the snake?" Kiran hesitated. Even in daylight, he felt uneasy thinking about it. But he agreed. That evening, as the sun began to set and the forest grew dim, Kiran walked beside the monk along the narrow path. His steps slowed as they approached the place where he had seen the shape. "There," Kiran said softly, pointing ahead. The monk looked carefully. In the fading light, the object did indeed resemble a snake. Instead of stepping back, the monk calmly took a small lantern from his bag. He lit it, and a warm golden glow spread outward. The light touched the object on the ground. The shadows softened. The truth appeared clearly. It was not a snake. It was an old rope, worn and slightly twisted, left behind by someone who had been working in the forest. Kiran stared at it in disbelief. "All this time," he said quietly, "I was afraid of a rope." The monk nodded gently. In darkness, the mind fills in what the eyes cannot see. Kiran felt embarrassed. His fear had felt so real. His heart had raced, his body had trembled. Yet there had never been any danger. "There is no shame in fear," the monk said kindly. "Fear arises when there is not enough light." They carried the rope back to the village. That night, Kiran lay awake thinking, if his mind could mistake a rope for a snake, what else might it be misunderstanding? The next day, he returned to the monk. "Teacher," he asked, "if I can be so certain about something that is not true, how can I trust my thoughts?" The monk smiled softly. "Not every thought is truth. Many of our fears are ropes in the dark. We see a shadow and imagine danger. We hear a rumor and imagine betrayal. We face uncertainty and imagine failure." Kiran listened carefully. When there is no light of understanding, the mind creates stories, and those stories can feel very real. "So how do I bring light?" asked Kiran. "By looking closely, by pausing before reacting, by asking, is this truly a snake or could it be a rope?" In the weeks that followed, Kiran began walking through the forest at dusk with a small lantern in his hand. The first time he saw a strange shadow, his heart jumped, but instead of running, he stopped. He lifted the lantern. The shadow became a fallen branch. Another evening, he heard a sudden rustling sound. Fear rose in his chest. He raised the lantern again. It was only leaves blown by the wind. Little by little, Kiran learned that most of his fears were created by imagination, not reality. One night, another villager ran back into the village, pale and trembling. "There is something terrible on the path," the villager cried. Kiran picked up his lantern calmly. "I will go and see," he said gently. He walked steadily into the forest. The path was quiet, the bamboo swayed gently. There, across the trail, lay a familiar shape. Kiran smiled. He lifted his lantern. It was only a rope. He turned back to the frightened villager. "There is no snake," he said gently, "only a rope in the dark." The villagers laughed with relief, but more importantly, they understood the lesson. Years passed and Kiran grew wiser. When anger arose in his heart, he paused and asked, "Is this truly a snake or a rope in the dark?" When he worried about the future, he lifted the lantern of understanding. Often his fears softened under careful examination. Later in life, when children asked how to be brave, Kiran would take them into the bamboo forest at sunset. He would place a rope across the path and wait for them to notice it. Some would gasp. Then he would light the lantern. The rope would become clear. "Fear is not your enemy," he would say gently. "It only asks for light." And so the village learned a simple truth. Not every shadow hides danger. Not every thought tells the truth. When understanding shines, fear fades away. For sometimes what we fear most is only a rope in the dark.